want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of The Best Movie You Never Saw. And this week, we're taking a look at Ridley Scott's G.I. Jane, starring Demi Moore as the first female recruit into the Navy SEALs training program.
Anything else we can do for your celebrity career, Lieutenant?
In the 1990s, movie star power couples didn't come much bigger than Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, or as pretty much everyone, affectionately or not, called them Bruce and Demi. Willis was riding high as an action icon thanks to the Die Hard series,
Go to the coast, we get together, have a few laughs.
but also established his bona fides as an actor with acclaimed turns in Pulp Fiction and 12 Monkeys. Yet, what people tend to forget is just how big of a star Demi Moore was at the time too.
Ditto.
Ghost, opposite Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg, had been her big breakthrough after years of having been known as kind of an auxiliary member of the Brat Pack, thanks to St. Elmo's Fire, One Crazy Summer, Wisdom, and other 80s flicks. Ghost put her on another level, but it was 1993's Indecent Proposal that made her a megastar. Infamously, this was the movie where Robert Redford offers Woody Harrelson
$1 million for one night with your wife.
While it ain't PC, it did establish her as a major international sex symbol. Disclosure in 1994 was another provocative erotic drama that cast her as a sexually aggressive businesswoman who harasses an underling, played by Michael Douglas. Yes, Demi Moore sexually harasses Michael Douglas. You know, this movie was actually a hit, so there. And it's based on a book by Michael Crichton.
Oh, don't tell me you're scared of me.
So these hit movies pushed her into a massive salary range, and for a while, Moore seemed content enough playing up on her sex symbol status. But there was a problem. The movies were no good. Her remake of The Scarlet Letter opposite Gary Oldman was much mocked for giving it a romantic, happy ending, while Striptease, for which she was paid a huge $12.5 million, a record for a woman at the time, was critically reviled and a box office flop. Although I think this movie may have suffered somewhat as it came out in the shadow of Showgirls, a movie which was a cultural anti-phenomenon in 1995. So, another stripper movie, people just automatically assumed it would be another Showgirls, even though this is more of a comedy and more of kind of a weird quasi-thriller. Burt Reynolds is actually really good in it.
An angel there.
Now, it was around the time that Striptease came out that the tabloids and many entertainment journalists seemingly turned on her, dubbing her Gimme Moore, despite the fact that her salaries actually always paled alongside other superstars of the era, or at least male superstars, like her husband, who was making $20 million a movie, but oddly enough probably wasn't as much of a box office force as she was if he wasn't doing the Die Hard movies, at the time anyway. Bruce Willis's career, of course, would go to amazing heights, but Demi Moore at this time was really big. Now, all of this came to an unfortunate head when she signed on to star in Ridley Scott's epic movie, G.I. Jane, a fictionalized what-if movie that cast her as a Navy officer chosen to be the first woman to undergo SEAL training. It was critically reviled, earning an anemic $48 million at the box office, and it earned Demi Moore a Razzie for Worst Actress.
Did that piss you off?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Good. I like pissed off.
And to that I say, what the fuck?
Ditto.
Here's the thing. G.I. Jane is a very good movie. Very good. And Moore is absolutely terrific in it. Now, a movie about the first female Navy SEAL recruit could have been simplistic or silly. Could have been fantasy wish fulfillment. Ridley Scott's movie treats it as something else. It treats it as dead serious, and it takes an honest look at what could possibly happen.
We're sharing the same fucking head!
Listen, you moron. I am here to stay, and if you don't want to be in my life, you've got two choices. Move out or ring out. That's it. End of file.
I think you got 1 minute to put your fucking clothes. What about the tampons?
It's not a question of Moore's character showing up misogynist recruits in what could have been an action movie version of Private Benjamin.
I did join the army, but I joined a different army. I joined the one with the condos and the private rooms.
Although that's no slight on Private Benjamin. I love Private Benjamin. However, this is just something completely different. It asks the question, what would really happen if a woman underwent SEAL training? Could she stand up to the physical challenges? Could she stand up to the mental challenges? And how would she be treated? Scott pulls no punches, and neither does Demi Moore. Also a producer on the film, she underwent a punishing physical regimen that included simulated SEAL training that was so brutal, intended co-star Sam Rockwell had to bail. Moore wanted the film to be edgy and realistic, and to that end, no punches were pulled as far as the training her character undergoes is portrayed. We see her reach the breaking point over and over as she's tormented by Viggo Mortensen as her tough drill instructor. Yet, while a more simplistic movie would have made him the antagonist that she has to show up, here Mortensen's character, in a way, is actually on her side. He pushes her brutally, but he also respects her, something which only becomes clear as the film goes on. There's one scene in particular that got a lot of people talking when, on a simulated training mission that apparently is supposed to prepare them for torture and captivity, Moore's character is threatened with rape by Mortensen, who's trying to prepare her for a real potential scenario such as this. It's the moment that finally gets the other Navy SEALs on her side as she manages to escape and has a brutal, badass fight with Mortensen that alone should have won her some major action movie credibility.
Lieutenant, seek life elsewhere.
Suck my dick.
Ridley Scott had made another female-driven classic some years earlier, Thelma and Louise, and he really knew how to make G.I. Jane just a perfect example of this kind of movie, and Moore doesn't get nearly enough props for just how good she is in it. Again, she won the Razzie Award. Wrong award, guys.
I can't afford civility, sir. How am I supposed to fit in with these guys when you've got me set up as an outsider?
If this movie had come out now with the exact same performance, I think that Moore would probably have much-deserved Oscar buzz, and I'd wager no other female performer of her era ever underwent as radical a transformation as she did to get into shape for the part. I mean, I love Meryl Streep and everything, but, would you accept her as a Navy SEAL in G.I. Jane? I mean, this is something different, folks. And while I'm not one to be PC, the only possible explanation for how Demi Moore was treated at this time is sexism.
I want to go through like the rest of the guys!
I said shut your fucking hole, O'Neill!
Not just of her trying to tackle action, which at the time was almost exclusively male-dominated, but also of the fact that she was collecting multi-million-dollar salaries, something which really seemed to rub people the wrong way. Too bad it was neglected because G.I. Jane is a real winner. Now, it's a little bit dated, but not in a way that speaks ill of the movie. It's dated in the fact that it's a product of the 90s. There's a scene in the movie where Demi Moore's character almost gets thrown out of the Navy because it's suspected she's a lesbian.
Sir, is someone suggesting that I'm a lesbian?
We're not asking if you are, Lieutenant, and you're not required to respond, even if asked.
At the time, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a real thing, and watching the movie, I cringed at the way she was being treated because of her presumed sexual orientation. It made no sense, and the movie does play it safe to a certain degree by actually making her straight. She's got a really boring boyfriend in the movie played by Jason Begbie, but it's a pretty interesting look at the mindset in that era. Moore is really terrific in a complex role, and so is Viggo Mortensen, in which I have to say is a really good part for him, especially in this era.
Ready for round two?
Booyah, Master Chief.
In the 90s, Viggo Mortensen wasn't doing too much. This was pre-Lord of the Rings, and you could really see why, he was the guy that was going to become the big movie star out of this, other than Demi Moore. I also like the D.H. Lawrence quote he keeps reciting throughout the movie. I never saw a wild
thing. Sorry for itself.
Anne Bancroft chews some scenery in what happened to be one of her last roles as a Southern senator who's ostensibly on Moore's side, but not really. And also look out for a young Morris Chestnut who looks the same 25 years later, and Jim Caviezel, before he was Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, as her fellow soldiers. The score by Trevor Jones is excellent, and the movie also has that high-gloss Ridley Scott sheen that's become his stock in trade. This is before Gladiator, but it looks great. My only issue is that I don't like all the zooms in the final battle sequence, which to me seemed a bit like a primitive version of what shaky cam would become. I think Scott was trying to break new ground here, but it didn't quite work. The technical side of it just wasn't quite figured out yet. Now, if you haven't seen G.I. Jane, and I'd wager that a lot of you actually haven't because it's the Ridley Scott movie I think a lot of people skipped, it truly is some kind of lost classic. Sadly, it was the end of the road for Moore as a big-time movie star, with the roles drying up for her soon after this film's release, or at least as far as leads in blockbusters go. It's a tragedy, as she should have been celebrated. This should have put her on the map as an action star in the league of somebody like Sigourney Weaver. If someone like Charlize Theron was to make the exact same movie now, people would call it a classic. Moore deserves more props, so do yourself a favor and check this one out. And while you're at it, thank you for watching our show, and if you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel, tell your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.